Hey, what's going on, Patreon group? Just wanted to stop in and post a fishing forecast. Now I'm looking on weatherunderground.com and I'm looking at the 10-day forecast, and it looks like this week could be a really good week to be out on the water. So if you have an opportunity, get out there and do some fishing. So I'm looking at the St. Petersburg forecast, and all the way through Saturday we've got temperatures hitting 70 degrees with the lowest temperature on Saturday of 62 degrees. We do have some thunderstorms coming in projected for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but there's no telling about where that's going to go. So they could be scattered. If you can get in between those storms, definitely try to get out if you're only limited to the weekend. But if you can fish during the week, definitely get out. Today is Monday. The low is projected for 64 again tomorrow, 64 again Wednesday, 65 is the low Thursday, 65 is the low Friday. So sorry, I'm getting notifications coming in. If you can get out and fish this week, this is a really good time to be on the water because we're having a significant warm-up after that big cold front that came through. And what happens is after that big cold front comes through, the fish will hunker down, and then when you get a significant warm-up period after that, that bite will turn on. So let's go over here to the tides. We're going over the weather and tides. And we're going to go to, where are we? Mullet Key channel. That's the channel that runs by the Skyway, parallel to the Skyway basically. And let's look at the tides for tomorrow. So tomorrow, Tuesday, February 9th, you're going to have a negative low tide early in the morning. This is at like 5 in the morning. It's going to bottom out. You got a minor feeding time at around 6 a.m. and the tide's going to be coming up pretty sharply. You got a above average tidal coefficient. You have morning of 76 and an afternoon of 80, so that tide will be moving pretty good. And it's going to come out and peak out around in the afternoon, a little over a foot over the average low. So a little after 1 o'clock, you're going to have a major, between about 11 and 2, you're going to have a major feeding time right there on the lunar calendar. So right there, fishing around the end of the incoming tide on Tuesday is going to be really good. After that incoming tide, you're going to have a little BS, little outgoing tide. It's going to bottom out late in the afternoon. There's going to be another little feeding time, and then it's going to continue to climb over 2 foot up to about 10 o'clock at night. So that feeding time right there around noon is going to be your go-to time for inshore fishing. So I would definitely check that out. If you're looking for snapper, if you want to do some chumming and stuff like that, that zone in between the tide changes, that little BS, little outgoing tide, that will get specific right there around noon all the way till about 3 or 4 o'clock. That could be really good. And then you got that little feeding time during the next change to go out. That could be really good right there. So that's for Tuesday. Let's go ahead and jump to Thursday for the tides. Similar situation. That little afternoon outgoing tide is a little bit stronger, a little bit more of a change. If you can fish Thursday, Tides for Fishing is predicting a pretty good feeding time right there at sunup. The tide bottoms out early at 6:12 a.m. before the sun's really up. Comes in pretty good, gets over a foot over the average low, and then you have another major feeding time after the tide change in the afternoon. Small outgoing tide, and then it comes back up again at night. So those days are looking really good. Now let's jump to Saturday. Going to Saturday. So what you'll notice if you look on the Tides for Fishing tide chart at the heights, basically this pattern is kind of repeating, but the timeline is moving forward a little bit. So your lunar morning feeding time is sliding ahead on the timeline. So that starts at about 9 o'clock. That tide will bottom out early at 7:16 a.m. and come up till about 2:01 p.m. So those changes are advancing on the timeline. The outgoing tide in the afternoon is to a greater degree. So you've got that major, you got a major feeding time right there around 9 o'clock till about 10 o'clock. And then the next major feeding time is going to be at about 2:30, 3 o'clock, all the way till 5 o'clock. There's going to be a lot of feeding activity according to the Solunar calendar. So, and when I'm reading this calendar, I'm looking at the number of little fishies it puts on there. So if it puts a bunch of little fishies, 1, 2, 3, that's a major, very high activity feeding time. 2 is good. 1 little fishy on the calendar, that's meh. Nothing to get excited about as far as the Solunar calendar goes, but it shows you a little something's going on there. But anyway, that is the fishing tide and Solunar forecast for today. This is going to you, the Patreon members, and this is one of the benefits that I'm bringing to you, is telling you when would be a good time to be fishing. If you have any questions or comments, leave them. Love to talk about it later.